be shirk akbar. That would be major shirk. Y'all see that? طيب, because no one can establish a cause and effect relation between two things except Allah. And no sabab, no cause can have an effect on anything except by mashiyatillah. Y'all see that? So to believe that one thing can have an effect on something else without Allah willing it to be so is what? Is shirk. Y'all see that? Could be akbar or could be asghar or akbar. طيب. These asbab, which don't have proof from the deen and don't have proof from empirical data or clinical trials, etc., we call them asbab wahmiyah. We call them fallacious, unsubstantiated, erroneous causes. That's what we call them. That's what we call them. And an example of that is the title of the chapter we're going to take today, where the Imam, he said, Bab min al-shirk, lubsul halqati wal khayti wa nahwihima li raf' al-bala aw daf'i. He said, wearing a ring or a twine or a band and doing it with the intention or with the belief or with the assumption that it can prevent some harm or relieve some affliction is a form of what? Shirk. Why? Because you're establishing a cause and effect relationship between two things and you have no what? No proof for that whatsoever. Y'all see that? Right? So now what the Imam is going to do now is he's going to mention some adillah, ayat Quraniya, verses from the Quran, a hadith and athar from the Sunnah, basically that indicate that when a person assumes that something is a cause for something else and they have no proof for it, they've what? They've committed a shirk. They've done something wrong. Y'all see that? Mumtaz. So first of all, he mentions the ayah from Surah Az-Zumar, verse 38 from Surah Az-Zumar, which is the 39th chapter, where Allah says, قُلْ أَفَرَأَيْتُمْ مَا تَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ إِنْ أَرَادَنِي اللَّهُ بِضُرٍّ هَلْ هُنَّ كَاشِفَاتُ ضُرِّهِ أَوْ أَرَادَنِي بِرَحْمَةٍ هَلْ هُنَّ مُمْسِكَاتُ رَحْمَتِي قُلْ حَسْبِيَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ يَتَوَكَّلُ الْمُتَوَكِّلُونَ. So what is the meaning of the ayah in essence? Basically, Allah says, say, tell me then, the things that you invoke, these deities that you call upon besides Allah, if Allah intended some harm for me, could they remove this harm? What's the answer?
No.
They couldn't. Or if He intended some mercy for me, could they withhold His mercy? Could they keep me from obtaining the mercy that Allah wanted me to obtain? No, they couldn't. Say, sufficient for me is Allah. In Him, those who trust, the believers must put their trust. So the basic meaning of the ayah is Allah is expressing disapproval of those people who worship other than Allah with the intention of what? رَفْعِ الْبَلَاءِ أَوْ دَفْعِهِ. To either prevent some affliction, some harm, or to lift it when it what? When it occurs. As if he's saying what? هَذَا سَبَبٌ وَهْمِي. This is what? A fallacious, erroneous, unsubstantiated cause for this what? This effect. What basically, these people, Allah is saying, these deities that you call upon, can they really protect you from harm if Allah wanted you to be harmed? The answer is what? No. Could they prevent you from getting some benefit from Allah? If Allah wanted to benefit you, the answer is no. So then your worship of them with this intention is what? Is erroneous. And making these idols a sebab for the thing that you seek to gain is what? Is a form of what? Shirk, because it's a sabab wahmi. It is a fallacious cause for this effect. You guys got it? So that's the first ayah he starts out with, just to give that general what? To establish what? To give the foundation. Then after that, he mentions the hadith of Imran ibn Hussein, in which he said, An-Nabiy sallallahu ra'a rajulan fi yadihi khalqa, halqatun min sufr. فقال ما هذا؟ قال من الواهنة. فقال انزعها فإنها لا تزيدك إلا وهنا فإنك لو مت وهي عليك ما أفلحت أبدا. So in this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he saw a man wearing what? Wearing a band around his bicep, made of brass. And so the Prophet asked me, he said, Ma hada, what is this thing that you're wearing? Why? Because the Prophet was of the type that he wouldn't make assumptions about anything. He would let people tell him, give their interpretation of whatever it is they were doing, and then he would what? Respond accordingly. Even if he himself had knowledge of what the person had done. You guys know the hadith where the Prophet was on the minbar, and a man came into the masjid. He came late. The Prophet was giving the khutbah, and he came and he did what? He sat down. And the Prophet said, As-salayta rak'atayn. Did you pray? The Prophet saw him come in and not pray. But rather than say you didn't pray, the Prophet wants him to what? Wants him to tell his story and then respond accordingly. So he asked him, he said, Ma hada, what is this band? The band could be what? For zina. It could be something what? You just wear to beautify yourself. You see that? Like I'm wearing this. Y'all see that? I'm not wearing this because I believe it can protect me. I'm wearing this because somebody gave this to me, man. This is a guy, I saw a guy in the Walmart and he said, I'm trying to stop the violence, stop the shooting. Right? Donate to my cause. I gave him $1 and he gave me what? He gave me this. I think it's nice. It kind of goes with what I have on. So, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. It's zina. Play it. So it could be zina. The Prophet asked him, he said, what's that about? He said, min al-wahina. And wahina is like this affliction that afflicts a person's arm that makes him what? Makes him weak. Makes him not have strength. Right? So he says, I'm wearing this to prevent what? To prevent that affliction. The Prophet said, inzi'ah. He said, take that off. Because it will only increase you what? In the weakness that you're trying to avoid. And he said, if you died and you were wearing this, ma aflahta abadan. You will not be successful under any circumstances. Y'all see that? So basically the message there is, here's the Prophet. You see the Prophet disapproving of this man wearing it with what? With this assumption. The assumption of what? This cause and effect relationship between the two things. That I wear this and it can protect me from what? From this disease. On top of that, he told him what? If you don't take it off, ma aflahta, you won't succeed. He basically denied or negated success, spiritual success. Success what? In the hereafter. And that in our Sharia, Allah and His Messenger will never say a person will not be successful unless they do what? Irtakaba kabira. Unless they what? Unless they do something that is what? A major sin. They do something which is majorly, that's wrong. Y'all see that? So the fact that the Prophet is disapproving of this tells you that what? Ittihad as-sabab wahmi, it's something wrong. And it could be what? Major shirk, or it could be what? Minor shirk. Again with what? And depending on what the person believes about it. ثم بعد ذلك, he mentions the hadith of Uqbat ibn Amr. And this has two riwayat. The first one, من تعلق تميمة فلا أتم الله له ومن تعلق ودعة فلا ودع الله له. Whoever wears a talisman or an amulet would never see his wish fulfilled. May he never, the Prophet said, may he never see his wish fulfilled by Allah. And whoever hangs a seashell should he never again, may he never get peace or rest. So here the Prophet is what? He's praying against the people who do these things. Do them with the intention of what? Daf al-bala, preventing some harm or removing some affliction if they've been afflicted. Y'all see that? The Prophet prayed against him. Would the Prophet pray against somebody for doing something that was makruh, that's just disliked? Would he pray against... Ahsan, he would only pray against somebody if they did something haram. Y'all see that? So then the person says, okay, well the previous hadith, it just shows us what? It's wrong. It doesn't say shirk. And this hadith shows us what? It's wrong because the Prophet prayed against the person. It doesn't say shirk. But the other riwayah of this hadith brings what? Brings everything together and shows that it is a form of shirk. Because in that riwayah, the same hadith of Uqbat ibn Amr, the Prophet said, "Man ta'allaqa tamimatan faqad ashrak." He said, whoever wears a talisman has what? Has committed shirk. You see that? Why? Because he took this sabab al-wahmi. He took this fallacious, erroneous, unsubstantiated cause for what? The effect of what? Preventing some harm or bringing about some benefit. Or if he was afflicted, lifting that affliction. Y'all see that? What's the problem here? The problem is he's established a cause and effect relationship between the talisman and what? And the prevention of some harm. And he has no what? No proof for it. Not from the shara. Okay? Not from the deen. And not from what? Empirical data or trial and error or anecdotal evidence that reaches the point of what? Of indisputable fact. Add to that what did we talk about yesterday? Adam al-ittisal. There's no what? There's no connection between the talisman and what? and the effect, which means that he believes that the talisman can have the effect without what? Without there being any connection. We talked about how if I wanted to open this door, I have to get up, walk to the door, and do what? I have to push it. There has to be a connection between what? Between a sabab and musabbab. Y'all see that? If there's no connection, if I say, for example, I can say, open sesame, and then what? The door opens. Who can do that? Who is the only one who can speak something into existence and say, kun fayakun? Allah. So y'all see that? If a person believes that, they're giving something to other than Allah, which is only rightful to be given to Allah. Y'all see that? So this is the problem with this whole concept, and this is how he brought, with that last athar, this is how he brought everything into focus. So the first one was just talking generally about how Allah is disapproving of the people who make one thing a sebab for another. Like those people who worship the idols, thinking that the idols can protect them or bring about some benefit. Then after that, he mentioned the hadith of Imran, where the Prophet saw the man with the band. Then after that, he brings this athar or this hadith of Uqbat ibn Amr. And the first version of it, he said he prayed against the person who did it. But in the second version of it, he what? He made it all clear that all of these are examples of what? A shirk. He said, "Man ta'allaqa tamimatan faqad ashrak." Because why? And basically, it's as if the Prophet had said, whoever took a sabab wahmi, whoever took something which was a fallacious, erroneous, unsubstantiated cause, and assumed or believed it was an effect for something he couldn't prove, has committed what? Has committed shirk. You see that? And so the example that the Shaykh gives at the beginning, lubsul khayt wal halqa wal nahwihima, is just what? It's just that. It's just an example. And we're going to see in other chapters when he talks about omens, talks about talismans, talks about other things, that it applies to anything that can fall into the category of what? A sabab al-wahmi. This fallacious or erroneous cause for an effect that you can't prove. Y'all see that? And this principle, it does what? I'll close with this. It closes the door to many shirkiyat. It closes the door to many shirkiyat and many superstitions that people have. And people fall into these superstitions. Why? Because they haven't wrapped their head around the fact that the only one who can make a cause and effect relationship between two things is who? Allah. And the only one who can affect an object without having what? Ittisab is who? Is Allah. And what is a shirk? It is taswiyatu ghayrillahi billah fi shay'in min khasa'is Allah. It is when you equate anything with Allah, anything other than Allah with Allah in something which is specific to Allah. And those two things are specific to Allah. Speaking something into existence and creating what? A cause and effect relationship between two things. Y'all see that? So you see how it's shirk? Mumtaz. And that's what the Imam was trying to get at with this chapter number 7. And with that, brothers, we'll bring today's remarks to a close. A little longer than we wanted to, but we covered the ground we wanted to cover. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as always to make us from those who listen to the talk and follow the best of it. Wa jazakumullah khair.